Welcome back to the channel. I'm working on a little bit of body work with some of these panels here and there on the car. And I'll just kind of go over some of the stuff that I've already did. I've been doing some work off camera, but I'm trying to repair instead of replace all of these panels that I can. I do want to still try and keep and retain all the OEM factory parts, especially if they have VIN numbers on them. So we can still keep this car all original, despite the fact that we are changing the paint color. So for starters, we have the driver's side fender that did have a decent ding in the corner of it. It wasn't terrible. Wasn't bad enough to where I didn't feel like I could repair it. And I'm not the best at body work, but right in this corner, and I just primered it. I know the lighting isn't the best, but I was able to kind of pop out one of the dents a little bit and get this corner spot smoothed out significantly. Looks like it might need a little bit more work, but this is a million times better than it was. And I think we're gonna be able to easily get that to work and look normal on the car. Now, moving on to one of the other main panels that also needed repair was going to be the passenger side skirt that I just pulled off, and I'm kind of assessing the damage. We have a decent crack right along this ridge line right there that I'm working on. We're gonna do the old zip tie and fiberglass method on the back side, and then we'll go ahead and fill in the front side once this is nice and strong and secured up. There's also some gouges that kind of go along this bottom side. We'll definitely need to get some sand and some filler on these, and we should be able to get these smoothed out. But other than a couple of small, just little dents and dings, filler spots on the car, I'm just kind of going through and prepping some stuff. There's not really a ton of body work that really needs to be accomplished everywhere on this. So I'll just give you a couple of the quick snippets of me working on the side skirt, and then we'll kind of see what else I can put into this video. I've spent quite a bit of time kind of going over and finishing up this area where that crack was, where we made the repair for the side skirt, and so far it's turning out pretty good. We've smoothed this out. There were some scratches that went kind of along the side over here. These I was able to fill these too, and this is looking pretty good. We'll shoot this with some primer, just make sure everything looks okay and looks decent. There's nothing that sticks out. If there is, we can make some other repairs. So I'll show you two more things I'm working on. Onto the rear bumper, there's a couple of gouges. I just kind of cleaned everything up and did an inspection. And we obviously have this big gouge right in the back right there. It's actually not too bad. It's not that deep. I don't think this will be that hard of a repair. We'll fill this up with some fiberglass Bondo. That should be a little bit better for plastic. There's one right there we'll need to fill, and then one on the bottom right there. So we're gonna take the grinder, grind this section out a little bit better so it'll make for a little bit of a cleaner spot to fill, and then we'll go ahead, fill these up, sand these down, and that's going to be a majority of the main spots on this. We got a couple small scratches to fill, but other than that, that's going to take care of that. There's also a spot on one of the sail panels right there that we'll fill in with some of that fiberglass Bondo too as well. That should work, and get that taken care of at the same time. I have most of my repairs, the minor spots that I filled, kind of all set and ready to go. I just have a bunch of panels laying around miscellaneously right now, and I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna get into the first step of starting to actually sand down these parts to allow that paint to give them something to stick to it. And also, if there is any minor imperfections such as like scratches, the sandpaper should be able to take that off and remove it. I did also remove the decals for the rear bumper, as well as the lights that are on that backside right over there. But for the grits that we're using, I got two different grits right now. This one is 240. We're gonna start off with this. We'll use this, kind of get all those imperfections out, just go over it really quick with that to knock it down, and then we'll jump up to a 400 grit, and then we're gonna end off hopefully with a 600 grit, and we'll do that in a wet sand, and that'll be the last grit that we're gonna use to spray with the sealer. So we're going up to 600 because this is a tri-coat paint, and hopefully those pearls and metallics, it looks like you want to usually sand a little bit higher, such as right around 600 grit is good. And we'll start off, we're gonna run the DA, so that's what we got going on. There is a foam pad in between, give us a little bit of cushion, especially going around the edges and stuff like that. Any of these tight to reach spots that we can't really get into, not a big deal. We'll hit these with a Scotch-Brite pad. After I just sanded this down with that 240 grit on the DA sander, what that does is it kind of takes out some of the scratches, but if there's anything else that's deeper than a little bit of a scratch and it doesn't remove it, that kind of tells us what spots we need to fill. So I went over this and just spot puttied all these areas where there's just minor nicks, imperfections, and scratches. I know this looks pretty bad right now, but this stuff sands off super easy, and this is just kind of a really quick, easy way to get rid of those imperfections and try to spruce it up, make it look a little bit nicer. So this will sand off really easily once we go on the DA again. Probably just hit this with 240 over it, just go over it, smooth it out, and then we can move on to our next grit being probably 400. Make sure we get everything smoothed out, and everything is, it should be matte. You should not see any shine in this. So any of these corners, we'll make sure to knock those out. I'm also prepping up my other panels and taking care of these small imperfections that the first sanding on the DA is showing. I'm back at the bench and I'm making some great progress on getting all of our parts prepped up. Everything is almost ready for just pretty much the last sanding and a couple of minor touch-ups. But we have one new part that I did acquire that I wanted to bring up. I was able to locate and find a new sunroof for the car. Now this is off of a 96, so these cars from 1996 to 99 use this metal sunroof, and they're hard to come by, obviously being low production numbers, but they're also really expensive and hard to find ones that are in good condition. Hence, that's why I need to replace mine, because we had some rust, some bubbling, and just too much damage overall. So I was able to pick this up for just over 200 bucks, which is an absolute steal. It only came with just the shell, but the motor on mine and everything else functions just fine. So this is the only part that I need. I'm just looking over it for scratches and minor imperfections. It's got one little scratch right there, but other than that, this thing is beautiful. It's gonna work perfectly fine. I need to figure out how to get this edge trim seal all the way out around the outside without damaging it. We'll get this prepped up and ready to go, and this will also get painted along with a bunch of our other parts that we're gonna do. We're gonna do some parts first before we get to the actual car, so I'll show you the layout and the spread once I get the actual booth up and we get everything set up. Just got that rubber seal off around the entire outside. It was super easy to get off, but right where that seal kind of mates up to this is going to be the edge of this, and that's where water is going to go into. It's going to set, and it can get down to the bottom, and the sides are where it's most likely to rust. And there's a couple of spots. We have a little bit of surface rust in here that we're going to have to get cleaned up. This corner just looks like it started to bubble a little bit. This is why you got to catch this stuff before. And we're gonna get this repaired up. We'll either grind it off or wire wheel it, whatever it needs, and we'll make sure to get these edges all primed up really super good to try and prevent this issue in the future when we do go ahead and paint this. Just took the grinder and I ground down these edges where these spots had a little bit of that the rust and the bubbling. I cleaned up all these edges and got these down to bare metal. So we're now going to fill them, and I'm going to be using specifically the Bondo glass. This is supposed to be pretty good for repairs with rust outs on metal, which I would say this is kind of exactly what this is. It's not really that much of a rust out. This stuff is super sticky. It'll hold very well to this, and it's also really hard. In front of us, all of the panels that we're going to be working on and painting. We're just going to spot prime up all the areas that I used filler or Bondo or anything like that on. The sunroof I worked on this for a little bit. This turned out freaking beautiful. I'm stoked with how this turned out. You can see that fiberglass filler in some of these spots. I was able to smooth out there super nice. We've now made it to the last step of sanding all of the panels. We're gonna go over this with 600 grit. I have some purple scuff pads, which are the equivalent of 600 grit. I like using these on the plastic panels, such as the rear bumper, as well as the side skirts. Just easier to get around the corners and kind of get everything smoothed out. And then we're gonna use the regular sandpaper kind of for the metal panels. They seem to be a little bit more straighter, but any of the hard to reach spots we'll use the scuff pads with for sure. Just make sure everything's hit. All of the parts prepped, cleaned up, and ready to go. I just spent the entire morning setting up the paint booth. It's warming up a little bit. It's morning right now, but it's probably about 60, mid 60s. Looks like it's gonna go all the way up to mid 80s today. And I would say I'd like to paint anywhere from like the mid 70s to 80, which is a pretty good temperature range for us to be painting in. Last couple days of nice weather, we're gonna get this paint work knocked out. We are now back in the booth. This is gonna be round 2. Last time I was in here, I painted the engine bay, and it turned out actually with some great results. So now that everything is laid out kind of where I want it, we just need to clean it up a little bit. We're going to use some of the Finish One surface cleaner with a microfiber towel, and we'll give everything a quick wipe off, let it dry, and then we'll come back, blow it off, and then tack rag it. And that's going to be it. That's all we're going to do. We do have a ventilation system in here. I'm just using some furnace filters, and there is a blower on the outside to suck off all of these exhaust fumes and kind of help me out so it's not just sitting in here marinating. Other than that, that's pretty much going to be about it. All set up and ready to go with the paints. I have everything laid out in front of us. It's exactly how I did this before. One coat of this Finish One sealer. It's a white sealer. We're gonna do 2, probably 3, most likely coats of the base coat for this Lambo. And then we're gonna do 2 coats of tri-coat, followed by about 3 coats of clear coat. In total, we're gonna be looking at right around 9 coats, allowing this to flash off. Probably about 15 minutes or so in between kind of everything. I have all the PSIs labeled out for what I want to do, and kind of just play it by ear how we're going to do this. But I'm going to start pouring it in the cup. We're going to get the sealer laid on. We're using a GTI Pro Light gun for the sealer, and then for everything else we're going to be using this gun that I had amazing results with previously. It definitely lays out super smooth. This is the Euro Pro. So we'll get this set up and let's do this. This is my first look at these parts. I pulled everything out of the booth. They've been drying for probably about 6 hours under the shop lights. Finally seeing these outside with a little bit better lighting. These turned out absolutely phenomenal. I still am trying to process that I actually did these myself, but there might be a little bit of orange peel, but everything laid out so freaking smooth and buttery. It's honestly unbelievable. I also did re-clear the 99 turn signals. I did attempt to restore them, and I polished them up, sanded them down, tried to get some of the spider cracking out. There's still a little bit in there here and there, but these are so much cleaner and better than they were beforehand. But this is definitely looking awesome, awesome, awesome. Nothing really too major that stands out to me that is that bothersome as far as screw ups or mess ups. I don't see any runs or anything like that. I'm gonna call this a successful paint job. Doesn't look like we do need to redo anything. Also, I did tape off the VINs. You can see these do have matching numbers. I did check these on the panels, and so far everything I'm seeing is all matching VINs. So it is definitely nice to keep everything original. Other than that, that takes care of this part of the whole process. Now what we need to do is we need to finish the rest of the chassis and body work on the rest of this car. So I've been working on the rear quarter panels as well as the trunk, filling off all the holes that come on the hoop wing spoiler. And it's kind of a pain in the butt to do. I do plan to do a 99 combat wing on this, and if you're doing this for the hoop wing, the 97 or the 98s, it's going to be the hardest to do because you have to fill all the holes, and there is quite a few of them. So I was able to weld them shut and I filled them over. We need to prime these up, get these areas nice and smoothed out, so that way you hopefully won't be able to see or kind of notice anything on here. But a majority of this is just going to be cleaning it up. So what I'm going to work on next is giving this car a bath, and then we'll do some minor repairs for dents, dings, finish up this section back here for these wings, and start taking a couple more pieces off of the car. We got the rear hatch trim piece down there off, so we'll have better access to get that section painted, as well as this top piece. Those trims, I do have some used replacements for them. They were looking really rough and cracked, as most people's are. So I have some that are in a little bit better condition that I can hopefully make work. And I just spent quite a bit of time stripping these doors completely down. We have the panel, the weather stripping, that top weather piece that comes up here, as well as we also have the handles completely removed so we can actually do a proper paint job on those. I'm just needing to pull the doors off right now, and we're just going to pull this right off of the hinges from right there. 4 bolts, 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom. You can see my wrenches on one of the bolts right there, and we're just going to pull it off here so that way we don't have to deal with realigning the door back up when we go to put this back on. All we need to do is just put those 4 bolts in, and it should be right in alignment where it's at. So I kind of have this supported up. So since I'm just one man right now, we'll get this door off. It's probably, these are pretty heavy, it's about 100 pounds or so, and then we just need to get the hatch off, and then once that's off, it's prep time. Both doors are completely off. You can see the handles. These just need a good cleaning. Good news is nothing broke taking these off or disassembling them that I am aware of, so we should be all set and good to put them back on, and everything should go together nice and neatly. We're gonna move on to the hatch next. We'll get this off. I'm about to get these door panels prepped up just really quickly. We're gonna knock out the insides. We're just gonna use a maroon Scotch-Brite pad. This will be fine enough to prep these surfaces. And I'm not planning on taking this screen off. We're gonna leave this mat on, and we're just gonna kind of paint around, but we will still be painting the inside of this door jamb. So a lot of this is gonna be covered underneath the panel, so you won't see it anyways. So that's why we're just gonna do a really quick job. Maroon Scotch-Brite, everything all the way up to this surrounding. We'll get that done, and then we can flip these over and see if there's any door dings or anything like that, take care of that, and then we can do a proper sanding job on the outside that we're actually going to be able to see. I spot primed a couple of the areas on the door that I found some dings. I filled them, and this is kind of how we're looking right now. Looks like everything is pretty decent on this. This one, again, we had a couple spots we had to do. And then we're over to the hatch where I had to fill those holes that were on the backside for the previous hoop wing. These are looking better. It is freaking hard to hide some of these holes that I had to fill. So I'm working on those still a little bit. It's almost there. We are so close. A couple other small spots. There was a little bit of some surface rust forming in this rear trunk section, so we went ahead and we filled that, as well as the sunroof. I also did fill a couple of spots in the corners. I have kind of paper covering right now so you can't see it, but on 3 of the corners I had to fill it with some fiberglass, sand it down, so that way we don't run into any issues later on down the road. So now we're working on just the whole chassis part right now. We got a couple of these spots marked up for just some super small dings. We're gonna get that taken care of, sand these down, and then same thing, we'll spot prime these areas, and then really just kind of go over everything real quickly All these areas, just Scotch-Brite them. This shouldn't take us too long to get this the rest of this chassis prepped up. All right, I have an update for you guys on some paint work that we have did. I know I have not been showing a whole lot. I've just been making a lot of repairs here and there, getting parts prepped, and I finally did do another run of painting. So I'll show you some of the things that we have painted up. We're not completely done with all the painting on this car, but I am to a point where this is probably all that I'm going to be able to do until it finally gets warm back outside again and we have accrued all of the rest of the parts for the car. So let me show you a couple of the things I just finished up painting and we can kind of go over these. So we have both of the doors laid out in front of us. Turned out, this batch of paint did not quite turn out as well. We do have, it's kind of hard to pick it up on camera, but I did get quite a bit of dust on some of these parts. And I think a lot of that is just going to be attributed to the paint booth being a little bit used now. I don't think I cleaned it out that well. And also my ventilation just wasn't kind of working the best. And then we get over to the chassis. This was the biggest thing to get done. Definitely glad this is completed. We were able to get the rear fenders completed, the roof, these, the whole entire body there, all the way down to the bottom. Everything, I still have quite a bit of stuff taped off. We kind of blended it up right here up into the fenders. And we'll go over to the other side. We also did do the rear. I was able to complete this. Didn't clear coat it or put pearl on it. There's no real reason to. It's going to be covered anyways. This side turned out not too shabby. Is that? Again, I don't know how well the camera can pick it up, but we do have some dust pieces here and there. I probably will need to go ahead and do a little bit of wet sanding, as well as just some denibbing on this for some of these pieces. But I think I can get this to turn out a little bit better than what it is. I would probably give this paint job that I did on this maybe a 6 out of 10. I think it was a little bit rushed, but after a little bit of work, I could probably turn this into probably maybe about like a 7 or 8 out of 10 in terms of quality. And we could also get out a little bit of the orange peel on this. But all in all, we were able to get some paint laid down. It did not turn out half bad. I still do have a couple more just miscellaneous pieces that I wasn't able to fit into the booth, such as the pillars, the door handles, the gas cap, and the mirrors. And then obviously I do not have a 99 front bumper yet. I am trying to acquire one and having a little bit of a hard time doing it, obviously because everybody wants to buy them out and put them on their cars. And I also do need to try and pick up hopefully a combat wing once the time comes, and then I can get those painted up once it gets nice and warm back outside again. But the whole chassis, the main chassis part painted. We have the doors. I've already showed you some of the other miscellaneous parts that we have painted up. We also do need to finish up doing the hatch, but we'll do that in our next batch of paint work. So that is going to complete this video for now. We have a majority of the stuff painted, and I should be hopefully starting to kind of reassemble and put back together some of the stuff that we have. Like, comment, and subscribe.